Well, I think the most important part of if you want to test your documents is to first think about what is it that you want to achieve with your testing. So what are you going to do with these results? Are you going to use them to incorporate the feedback into your documents? Or are you going to use it to portray that the document was successful? I think that's the most important part of any organization starting to test, because we do find that a lot of the times people think testing is important and they just start getting and going with it. And it's very important to take a step back before you even start testing and thinking, what is it that I'm going to achieve with this testing? And then based on that, that's when you are going to think about, okay, how am I going to test? Do I need to involve the users, or can I get information that's going to help me from another source? I know Liezl always says you can look on like Hello Peter and on the internet and see what people are saying about this document without even involving them from the get-go.
How would you explain this to someone? Because, we assume that you understand what this means, not what does this mean, like they feel like they're being tested. We'd say, how would you explain this to someone? And we have a legal term. It's natural person, and it just means an individual as opposed to an organization. So we ask people, how would you explain the term natural person to someone? And my favorite answer was, a natural person is a person who does not wear makeup. So we always get these little gems, but you cannot discard that feedback. If one person doesn't understand the term, that's representative of the larger group, and you have to rethink using that term. Has anybody used cloze testing?
Your favorite?
My favorite, by show of hands. It's extremely labor intensive, and I wouldn't recommend it if you don't have the time or the budget, but it's really great. Cloze testing, CLOZE testing. It's the best way to test comprehension. So you take 5 versions of your document, same document. And in the first one, you delete the first word and every 5th word after. In the second one, the second word, every 5th word after, and so on, until you have, between the set of 5, a version in which every word has been deleted. You would have to have a lot of participants, and then you ask them to fill in the missing word. But between the set of documents, you will be able to see how accurately someone can predict the missing word. And that is a very, very good indicator of comprehension. In another project we did was with a financial services provider. It was South Africa has fantastic plain language legislation. We're one of the countries that is blessed with having plain language sprinkled like confetti in our laws. So people were, in the beginning, when plain language legislation was introduced, they were very nervous, and they were like, oh, are my documents in plain language? We need to test. And so we tested with this one company. We had 60 participants. Each of them was given 1,000 Rand to invest based on a scenario. So they received a scenario to say, you want to invest in this fund for this period. You want to invest this 1,000 Rand. And our test was, can they do it successfully, right? So functional user testing. And out of 60, 3 people were able to do it successfully. Now, these were experienced investors. They knew the language, they knew the jargon, they understood investing, but the forms and the terms and conditions and the information booklets were so confusing that they didn't complete their applications correctly. Right, so what is the impact of that? We can measure that impact. If your application or if your investment isn't successful, you've miscompleted the form, someone from that company has to phone you and guide you through the form. That takes 30 minutes to an hour. If you have to spend 30 minutes to an hour with 57 people, that has a cost component. How can we quantify that impact? And that makes for a very compelling argument to say, you are spending millions. You have an entire outbound call center full of employees that are only employed because you have really bad forms.